Hello, welcome back. I hope you had a great lunch break and you're enjoying IndieX 2024 as much as we are. So, our next game, I have to warn you, this is more than a streaming session. It was actually a trap suggested by my attorneys because I'm now in a legal dispute with the team of Little Bat Games because there are at least two characters in this game that I know for sure were based on my likeliness. So I'm sorry that you have to look at and watch this heated argument with the developer, but I'd like to welcome Cyrus Nemati from Little Bat Games to to
Thank you for having me, Ricardo. Now that I look at you and know what you look like, I see what you mean. It
yeah.
was unintentional, but you are welcome in the world of Vampire Therapist.
How are you, Cyrus?
I'm well. I'm well. And yourself?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So
Are we all?
we already have this disclosed. I was saying that I was going to tell this to everyone on the record, but João Machado from the team already disclosed that this is his game of the year of 2024. So yeah, it's on my top three of all this almost 700 submissions, and it's João's favorite game, Vampire Therapist. The elevator pitch is simply good bonkers. Can you tell us? Can you describe the game to us?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really in the title. So Vampire Therapist has you acting as a therapist to other vampires as a vampire. And the real idea behind it is the problems that we face as humans are very old. And so by having vampires as clients, you can actually explore the issues that have been plaguing us for a really long time, but you're using real therapy concepts throughout the game and you're learning about them to help yourself and to help other vampires. So really, the whole thing is a big exercise in compassion and self-compassion.
Something
But it's
really
funny.
amazing. Yeah, it is. It is something amazing, and I have to congratulate you in different aspects of Vampire Therapist. But one of them is actually meta game, which is the fact that you have a partnership with Safe in Our World, which is an amazing charity
Yeah.
that tries to help globally about mental health, and having Vampire Therapist, which thematically obviously makes sense. The way you approached mental health issue with mystical characters. But
Yeah.
how was this? Was this originally in your idea when you created Vampire Therapist, or it happened along the process of developing the game?
I think it was something that happened later on the partnership with Safe in Our World. What they provided more is like an easy resource for people who are looking for therapy. That there are easy ways to find it and find it quickly. I worked with a consulting therapist throughout the game on the gameplay, on defining the terms. So we started quite early, and they actually reviewed the entire game. It wasn't something that I expected early on. I thought it was going to be more of like a simple choice game where you would have conversations and you would lead players and or lead clients in the right direction. But it felt like I was just telling people what to do, like me, Cyrus, a guy in his 40s. Why should you listen to me, right? So it's better if it's vampires, and it's better if it's real. So we used real therapy, real historians, and I think it shows in the game.
I already know the answer to this, but I think it's a good subject to have a conversation live. Obviously, you know Vampire the Masquerade, and for
Oh
sure
yeah.
you're close to the game because Vampire Therapist breeds the approach that World of Darkness have with vampires. Like they are mystical creatures, but at the same time
Hmm.
they exist in a tangible world, and that's exactly how it feels with Vampire Therapist. And it's a good concept because I never played with anyone in any of my sessions or playthroughs that had a therapist, but I had people that were
Hmm.
doctors, there were engineers, architects, and
Yeah.
yeah, it makes sense to have a therapist. How was the this does this came from a playthrough you had, like a campaign? What was
No,
the
no,
idea behind
actually.
this?
I only played Vampire the Masquerade for the first time, I don't know, maybe about a couple of months ago as a tabletop RPG. I've played the PC RPGs, and I had an idea of what the vampires were like. And certainly one of the things that I love about Vampire the Masquerade is that it is set essentially in this world, like
Yeah.
with this world's history. And as a amateur historian, I guess I would call myself, that is the thing that makes it particularly compelling. That these are human issues having to do with our world. So that's really where that came from.
You know, that's exactly the reason why it has been my favorite pen and paper RPG for the last 20 years. It was the first one
Yeah.
I played. It wasn't Dungeons and Dragons. I immediately fell in love with it precisely because of that, because the correlation with real aspects of our life. I always played,
Yeah.
I think the majority of times I always played with a customized Lisbon setting with reality getting intertwined with
Yes.
the fictional story. And that's the best aspect for me for Vampire the Masquerade. So yeah, while I start the game, I think a good question, since you already played Vampire the Masquerade, and allow me this. It's not a joke. I'm pretty confident about this.
Yeah.
So Vampire the Masquerade is cool, but why is Ventru actually the only clan that exists? Because all the other ones are just NPCs.
Well, yeah, if you're a vampire and you live forever, you have more control over the world than people who only live a single lifetime, right? You've
Yeah.
got all the money, you've got all the influence, and the older you get, the more solidified it is. I mean, our real world is run by old money. Let's not pretend that isn't true. So, of course, I agree with you. Yeah, ventures are really running the world, even in real life.
Yeah, maybe they are.
Maybe they are.
Yeah.
Maybe they are.
Let me just tell everyone that is watching. So, something that I'm kind of murdering an amazing aspect of Vampire Therapist is the fact that the voice acting and the soundtrack is simply astonishing. Obviously, this is streaming session, and I'm really looking forward to spend the next 40 minutes talking with Cyrus. And that's why, for you to fully enjoy Vampire Therapist, you must go and play it, buy it, and play it. Because
Agreed.
now, me and Cyrus, we're gonna. I think, hope you're enjoying the conversation too. At least these past 7 minutes, Cyrus. But you need to enjoy the voice acting, because the voice acting is simply amazing, and you have amazing actors contributing to your game, don't you, Cyrus?
Yeah, we voice acting is my background. You may have heard me in Hades, where I did a number of
Yeah.
the characters in that one. So that's my strength. So I knew how to get the best actors possible for the characters. In fact, I knew who I was casting before the script was even done. Like before I even started it, I knew who they were going to be, and so I just said, "I want them. I want them. I want them," and I got them.
Whoa.
And that's a really cool thing as an actor, is that I can just set a target and say, yeah, these are the people I'm going for. And I think that's why the voices are so connected to the characters.
But since you went the other way around because of your background,
Yeah.
how much did the actual character building and fleshing out you felt transpire from your knowledge from the actors that you chose?
A lot of it. Like I knew from the start that I needed people with exceptional comic timing. I needed people who were able to convey a wide range of emotion while still keeping it light. So I knew these actors' strengths already, and I said, okay, well, how can I really emphasize their strengths as much as possible? How do I make the character that they've always wanted to play? Because that's what I did in this game with the characters that I played, is I did ones that I always wanted to play.
Another amazing thing that I've been noticing in the last 10 years, in my case, I discovered visual novels through one of my favorite series of all time, which is Ace Attorney.
Oh, of course.
And it's so amazing how you've been noticing this kind of cultural exchange and influence across different areas of the globe, because uh, we were talking this morning with Kusan City of Wolves, which is a South Korean team doing a game which aesthetically resembles, and it was on purpose they did this, resembles the American comic approach, you know.
Uh-huh.
And then you're having amazing Western creators picking up the idea of visual novel, which was a genre that was born in Asia, especially in Japan, and then you're introducing some Western approach to it and reinventing it. And I think it's such a golden age for
Hmm.
experimenting and seeing creative things, don't you think, Cyrus?
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a really malleable format,
Yeah.
and it allows, well, it's a format that's accessible to someone like myself. Like I had to learn to program in order to make the game. I'm not a good programmer, but knowing enough to create the sort of atmosphere that I wanted to was certainly possible within a visual novel. And I wanted something more theatrical, and it actually is a pretty good fit for what I was doing.
By the way, for our audience, then again, obviously the game is highly narrative. I've already played through this segment, and I'm almost on automatic pilot. So I think it needs to have some context to this. Some things that I think a vampire therapists are amazing and highly creative is one, the fact that your protagonist is something that I would never imagine picking up as the protagonist for this kind of game. When I think about a vampire therapist or someone that will be taught how to be a vampire therapist, I would never think about a 19th century American cowboy. Um, that looks like, whoa! It's so out of the park, that it. I think that's why it works, because it's so unexpected. Then in the end, you feel like, okay, yeah, this makes total sense. And here the idea is that we, like you were saying, we get tools as a therapist to, through dialogue, to help the characters that we encounter, and we are with Andromachus that we're gonna meet now, to gain new tools to keep our work as a therapist, but for like-minded creatures, or like existent creatures, there are vampires, because it makes sense. We are humans and we have finite lives, and we have our problems. What happens when you're 2 centuries, 8 centuries, 1,000 years old? How much baggage did you accumulate in your mind? And yeah, this is all of this sounds strange when you when you get in contact the first time, and then it's like, yeah, why haven't anyone thought about this before? Did I describe it remotely well or not? I hope it
Yeah,
made sense.
no, absolutely. Like, and also, like, there's a joke that happens a few times in the game where we talk about how, mortals, when they turn about 70 years old, they're about done changing their minds. Their minds are a little bit less flexible, and the things that have been a problem for them become essentially permanent. For vampires who can live hundreds or thousands of years, those problems are going to become even more solidified. So this was a great opportunity to really tackle these ancient insecurities that we develop essentially in childhood.
The other thing that I felt it was really creative, and I would like to know how was the process of you having conversations with an actual therapist about this. Was the concepts, like the naming that you gave to this concept, like hot branding, Hainan mind, saloon thinking, which are 19th century Wild West subjects apply to the idea of therapy. How was this process?
So coming up with these more silly cowboy names for what are called cognitive distortions, ways that we are looking at the world that aren't based in reality, was so in some early playtesting. I had a pretty lengthy tutorial where players first had to learn about each of these concepts and then apply them. But the feedback that I was getting is that it was taking too long to get there. So I had to jump right in with our main character Sam coming to some of these conclusions on his own. He doesn't really understand what they are, but he recognized them as patterns in human thinking. And once you get into the real tutorial, you figure out that, like, oh, what these things he has discovered from walking in the woods are these cognitive distortions that real cognitive behavioral therapists use in terms of classifying the way we think. So I just came up with those on my own. They were just silly, and
And
yeah.
but it fits. It fits.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
Having a cowboy was because the player is learning along with him, so
mhm.
it made sense to have a character who didn't have all the answers, or in fact really had none of the answers. It's just a really good sense of empathy.
I imagine that developing a visual novel is something with kilometers of writing. Did you write it by your own, or did you have other people helping you writing
uh
all the story?
yeah, so this was all me and a team of editors. So the editors were, of course, making sure that I was being clear. That was the most important thing, because sometimes the topics are actually kind of complex, but I wanted to make them easy and relatable. So editors were invaluable there, and of course my consulting therapist, looking through the entire script and saying like, okay, well, this is a good approach. You might try considering this. Don't do this. This is kind of a dangerous thing to do. So yeah, I had a lot of input, but I did all of the writing for this game.
Someone was saying, and I completely agree that also the art direction of Vampire Therapist really fits the game and makes it stand out. But did you have already a clear idea which aesthetic were you going for the story you wanted to tell?
It took some exploration. At first, we had a more grounded, almost Vampire the Masquerade sort of feel to it, where we had more of this graphic novel feel. But what that was doing was removing the comedy from it. And I always knew that it was going to be a comedy game first, because when you were talking about these very difficult issues, if it's just a downer, people are going to leave. So I hired a character artist that was actually a more well versed in cartoonish sort of style.
Mm-hmm.
And what we did is we harmonized this original grounded style and this more cartoonish style. And I think we really nailed what we were going for, which is something that felt human, that felt grounded, but still allowed us to show a wide range of emotion and a lighter tone.
Yeah. And since this is your first game, and visual novels and more narrative ended games, obviously they have their audience.
Yeah.
How did you personally manage the risk that you were going to take on this?
That's a very good question.
I,
Well, my risk
just take
management
into account,
was,
I said
yeah.
personally, not financially. I don't want to pry into that. Okay.
Well, I mean, they're kind of connected, aren't they? But really, I mean, they're connected. Really, my goal from the start is like, I have a lot of particular experience that I've picked up. And I'm like, okay, I told myself from the beginning before I started making a game, what can I do essentially by myself? What do I need help with? And how can I maximize what I can do? And that's how I came upon this particular visual novel approach and this particular therapy approach, because I thought it was something new. And then I said, we're going to do it quick, we're going to do it cheap. And indeed, we did. It took a year and a half to do this game from start to finish.
And because it's your first game,
Yeah.
you decide to go in. Obviously, well, nowadays I think the market is so saturated everywhere, be
Yes.
it on the indie spectrum or the AAA spectrum or any
Yeah.
genre, that saying that one specific genre is risky is kind of yeah. I think it doesn't tell much. But you also self-published, from what I noticed. Was that
Yeah.
your idea originally, or didn't you find the right partner to bring Vampire Therapist to light, or to
Uh,
the darkness? Because yeah, light,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I talked to a number of publishers, and I think we couldn't really agree on what the audience was and what the projections were. Also, like when publishers started to get interested in the game, it was after the game already started to get some press and early buzz around it. The game was mostly done by that point, and they were still talking about like a 50% stake.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? Maybe next time. Maybe not. We'll see.
And how has been the feedback? Because the game was released on mid-July, if I recall.
Yeah.
What kind of feedback have you? Positive,
Oh wow.
for sure,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
The feedback has been incredible, like from critics and from players. But really, the best feedback that I've gotten is that it has been helping people. It has been helping people like recognize these patterns in their own thinking, which like it started to happen to me as I was playing the game. I was recognizing. I've been in therapy a long time, and I've heard a lot of these terms before, but by actually applying them in the game, it solidifies them more in my mind. And I was finding out that the same thing was happening to players. And you can read the reviews, and they talk about this has been more effective than my last three therapists, as I hear like a common thing from players. So that has been super exciting. That the characters have been resonating is incredible. We've had some incredible fan art as well, some fan fiction, and
And
yeah, the
cosplay.
reception
Are
has
you
been
having
incredible.
cosplay?
We do have
Yeah,
cosplay. We
so
have
you
an
made it. You
incredible
made
one.
it.
Yeah, right.
You made it.
Yeah, that is it. Like when I was started as a voice actor, I thought once people are drawing art of my characters making out, I will have reached the mountaintop and there is no higher I can go. Well, that
Actually, I
yeah.
sorry to interrupt. I don't know if I can say this to our current audience, but I maybe we're wrong. I think you'll
Yeah.
make it, and maybe it already exists. Erotic fan fiction.
Won't say anything. Maybe it exists, maybe it doesn't. Maybe erotic fan art exists, maybe it doesn't.
But no, no, on more serious tone.
Yeah.
You must have been really proud when you saw the first cosplayers of your characters, for sure.
Oh, it was just heartwarming. I put a lot of myself into this game. A little too much, if I'm honest. So seeing that kind of reaction was like, oh, there are people like me out there. I mean, only they have the wherewithal to make a costume where I don't. So, I mean, that's the biggest compliment any artist can get is inspiring someone else.
I just know I thought that playing action games while having a conversation is difficult. Actually, playing a narrative game while having a
Yes.
conversation is difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can give a little explanation of what's happening
Do you want to
here.
tell us how so what's now happening is Sam Wells, which is our protagonist, our cowboy, he came across some uh, cognitive definitions from his life experience, right? But now
Yeah.
he's meeting a really older vampire, which is called
Hmm.
Andromachus, and he's teaching him all the other definitions that he came across, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So Sam was walking in the woods for 90 years after being a really bad guy, and came across these patterns in human thinking. And so once he tries to help other vampires, they're not so eager to be helped. So he seeks out help from Andromachos, who is 3,000 years old, has had a similar journey, but being as he's in Europe, he actually has had a lot of experience already with learning about psychology. And so he's using the real terms. So what we're doing here is we're starting to replace our original cowboy terms with more clinically appropriate terms. And then we're getting tested on them. Once we learn what they are, like Nosferatu thinking here is in psychology called polarized thinking or black and white thinking. Something is all good or all bad, nothing
Yeah.
in between. I do this all the time. You do this all the time. We all do this all the time. So what we're doing in this sequence here is we're learning how to apply this particular cognitive distortion and recognizing it in others.
So what in philosophy is called Manichaeism, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a probably yeah one of the older
Yeah,
forms of
terms.
psychology.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I go into it. There's an upcoming free content update where I actually get into the birth of psychology. We talk about
Really?
some of this older stuff. Yeah, it's exciting. I just finished it and sent it off to the editor. So yeah, it will be out probably well, if not next month, early in December.
So, and are you happy with the results they might have been having, both in terms of
Yeah, I mean,
response and also obviously in terms of sales? Was that what you were expecting? You were expecting?
well, I will be honest that sales are difficult right now, and they're difficult for everyone. I'm
Hmm.
seeing a lot of critically acclaimed, even award-winning games, sometimes published by bigger indie publishers, flagging, like really flagging. So our sales are actually pretty decent in comparison, but for this year, yeah, it's tough for indies for sure. So getting this kind of exposure is certainly a huge help for us because, yeah, I already have a sequel planned. I just need the money to do it.
And 2024 is not a good year to ask for anyone for money.
No, so it would seem. So it would seem. I mean, if you're Dragon Age, you can do it. But if you're not Dragon Age, it's a little rough.
Yeah, I'm
Although
lost.
I
Wait,
noticed
wait. No,
oh
I'm
yes,
yeah. So
right.
mortals will always fear our kind. Did you miss my Nosferatu thinking? Yes. If that,
Okay, so let's look at each one of them. So if I do not drink blood, I will surely die. So
yes.
this is, if we're talking about all or nothing thinking. If I do not drink blood, I will die.
Yeah.
Is this a distortion? Because what it is for vampires, vampires must drink blood. In some cases, there are binaries that are true. A vampire must drink blood. So, for instance, if we hit Nosferatu thinking here, we will see that it's wrong, um, because it's something that we need to do as vampires. If there is something where there is more middle ground, that's when we hit the button. So yeah, you can go forward and it'll give you a different one.
Death eventually comes for us all.
This also
Yeah.
is true. Death does come for us all, even vampire. Mortals will always fear our kind. This is the one where there must be middle ground because vampires are human. It means that humans don't
Oh,
always have to be afraid. Ah, you missed
they
it,
they
but yeah,
were
you
at
can just move
least.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this
Yeah.
whole
Yeah. Yeah.
thing takes place above a goth club where the goths are voluntarily
Yeah.
sharing their blood with vampires. So we already have like a relationship that is more beneficial to both parties. So we already know that humans don't necessarily always fear vampires within this world.
Oh yeah, and his gang, they were all transformed into vampires, weren't they?
Who all transforms into vampires?
Sam's gang.
Oh yes, they are all vampires, still running around in America. He escaped from them, but yeah, they're not good. They're still there. This game too is set in the real world, and we presume that these vampires are now much more than a gang and are doing much worse things in the United States. But you'll have to play the game to find out what they're up to.
Yeah. So yeah, now Ramahus is converting our terms for a more appropriate, or at least old world kind of definition. Yeah.
Yeah, some of them that we get into later, like there are 13 distortions by the end of the game,
Okay.
and some of them are. It would have been difficult to come up with cowboy terms for them and have them still understandable. That was the most important thing for me first, is make sure that people understand what's happening in the game, and then I can worry about doing the silly stuff later.
Because what you're trying to explain is that Sam got to these answers in an empirical way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just by observing nature and walking in nature. That's a running theme throughout the game, and it's something my therapist tells me all the time: is go for a walk, and things will sort themselves out. And yeah, sometimes we're resistant to that when we live in cities, right?
How many characters did you end up writing into Vampire Therapist?
Gosh. So there are four clients. There is Sam, and there is Andromachos. We have some. Let me see. One, two, and Crimson the bartender. We have some club goers. What is that? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10 characters. Yeah.
Okay. And did you have you did? I think you did most of the game, but how many people did you work closely, be them contractors or not, including voice actors?
So I have a core team of uh, four artists. So I have two character artists, one background artist, and one brilliant UI artist. Yeah, who really put this game together. And then I have, yeah, I guess only four other voice actors beside myself, and my editors and my historians. But they're not like core team. It's just like more when I need them, I call out to them. Yeah, working with the historians was super cool as well.
Yeah. What did you needed feedback on?
So the second client in the game is her name is Isabella d'Este. She was a patron of the Renaissance, and she is a real person in history. And I had somehow gotten a hold of 20,000 of her letters were translated into English. So I read all the letters, and then I contacted the professor who was doing the translating, who runs this archive for Isabella d'Este. And I told her I'm making this game, and I would love for you to tell me what you think of it and some of these routes that I'm taking. And she was super excited about it, and gave me a lot of good information. Even told me that Isabella d'Este, her body went missing. So nobody actually knows where she is. So she may actually be a vampire. So I got these really cool details from her. And yeah, you can look up the Isabella d'Este archive and you can see where she did her work. They have a virtual version of her studio. It's really, really cool stuff.
Where was she from? Was she from Italy?
No, actually, she is teaching at UC Davis, I believe, in California.
No, but the character that you, or the
Oh,
historical
yes,
character,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Where,
she is from yeah, she's from Italy. Yeah, I think 1474 was when she was born.
you released
Okay.
the game to PC. Uh, did you bring it to other platforms?
We are still in talks for other platforms. Yeah, doing it on. I released this on PC and Mac and Linux. And as a first-time developer, I think I was. I'm being humbled by that. It is really hard to keep all the platforms up.
Because I don't know if you evaluated this or not. Well, you just got the Ace Attorney Investigations collection came out to
Uh huh.
Switch, and well, you've been having a few collections of visual novels like Famicom Detective and all of that.
Hmm.
Was it something that you measured with the idea of, well, the investment you have to put to bring a game like this to a console?
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, we're talking about it. We're talking about it. I haven't signed a deal yet, but I'm close.
Oh, good news, or at least some news.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, this is an exclusive to this stream. I will not
Nice,
be talking about it otherwise again.
nice. Bruno is asking, do you find any challenges to bring this? I think both technical or maybe marketable challenges to bring Vampire Therapist to the console market. Do you think it all makes sense? All the platforms? On some platforms, you think it doesn't. You shouldn't bother with bringing it there.
There are positives and negatives to each of them. So I think the Switch is certainly the most friendly market for this kind of game. It's something that is, nice to play in bed or on a road trip, someplace quiet, whatever. Other consoles may have more difficulty. However, the Nintendo eShop is infamously awful. Like it's
Yes.
slow. It is terrible with featuring. You basically have to do all the marketing yourself because discoverability is never going to happen on those platforms. Whereas, Xbox is a lot better in terms of that. PlayStation, I think, a little bit less so, but they have a bigger user base. So there are pluses and minuses to each. Certainly, the Switch is my primary target
Yeah.
for whatever comes next.
I was just thinking because maybe it's a preconception that I believe that from those, I would guess that maybe the Xbox platform would be the least, or in a
Yeah, but
first
their store
idea.
is better. Their store is better, and that's 90% of getting a game into people's hands is when you go to a grocery store and they put the stuff that sells the best at eye level. It's the same in any platform, and if you cannot get in front of people's eyes, you're not going to sell copies.
Okay, you can obviously. I will ask you something that if it has any real existence to this happened before, you have the right not to answer. But
Sure.
knowing that Paradox post World of Darkness acquisition, they became kind of open-ended with partnerships, and there have been several Vampire the Masquerade games in different genres coming out. Um, did you have a talk with them?
This is something I can't talk about.
Okay, that's a good answer, you know.
Honestly, I like my vampire therapist world a lot. There are differences.
Yeah,
Certainly from vampire therapist to vampire the masquerade. Like one of them, probably the most important one for me, is that I need old vampires because again, my focus is history. Like a
yeah, yeah,
lot of this game is not only the study of human psychology, but it's a study of class and what class does to us and
yeah, yeah.
how we have these entrenched systems. So I need vampires that were there for the Reformation, for the birth of capitalism, for the Renaissance, for the Revolutionary period. I want all that for me, that's the good stuff. So I really like my world, and I would love to do more in it.
Yeah, that's a challenge because obviously at Vampire Masquerade, all the older the elders uh, are mysteriously gone. So
Yeah,
all the antediluvians, and you're using
right.
obviously. Well, do you have anyone as old as that?
Yeah, Andromachos, he's three
Oh
thousand
yeah,
years
yeah,
old.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and there are references to older vampires, and like the idea very much is you don't want to deal with it. You get little hints as to how powerful Andromachos really is. He never really shows it, but there are a lot of hints that over 3,000 years it's less superpowers and more the fact that he has observed so much that he can do things that would be considered magical.
I'm going to read something interesting that João is writing. So he's saying his wife is not a gamer, and she was fascinated by the concept of vampire therapist. And her first comment was, "If we have all traumas in 70 to 80 years of living, someone
Yeah.
that lives 100 would really need therapy for sure."
Exactly. Yeah. Most of the characters in this game, well, all of them really, the traumas that they carry, the fears that they carry that make them who they are, they're all really old. They were all from when they were alive, certainly, and most likely it was from when they were children. These things get solidified at a very early age, and I don't get too much into like, Freudian stuff really. But it does count for everybody. We have fears that we learn early, and they often define, how we project ourselves.
Yeah. But at the same time, yes, you carry that burden from your human time, but isn't there also, well, at least I've seen this being well portrayed. For example, my favorite vampire book of all time is actually Fever Dream by George R. R. Martin.
Oh, I've never read it.
Yeah, it's a really amazing. I've never confirmed this, but I still believe there is much from Vampire the Masquerade that I conceptually that came from Fever Dream, because at least
Ah,
it was the
interesting.
first time I ever read. The book is from '81,
Yeah.
so way before A Song of Ice and Fire, and George R. R. Martin became this rock star that he is now.
Yeah.
So the book is takes place in the Mississippi in late 19th century. I was actually
Hmm.
curious because of Sam. I
Yeah.
thought that you read the book because when I saw Sam, I was like, it kind of looks like it came out of Fever Dream by George R. R.
Yeah.
Martin.
Interesting. No, I haven't read it, but that's
Yeah,
yeah. I think it's a good approach. I think it's a good approach.
yeah, because the setting was, well, New Orleans, the end of 19th century was
Hmm.
something I wasn't expecting for a vampire story. But then
Yeah.
again, what I think George R. R. Martin brings to the table with that story, it's not only the living trauma that these vampires have, but also the struggle they have for seeing themselves becoming, in a sense, murderous beasts, and how much does
Yes.
it contribute to the former trauma and former burden,
Yeah.
Did you explore this?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, vampires are, and this was one of the draws for me, really, is that vampires are by default murderers.
Yes.
We don't really talk about this in a lot of media. When you talk about, Twilight, or you talk about Interview with a Vampire, like the thing that you start with is sexy. And the thing that comes secondary is murderer. But, just because they're hot, it doesn't mean that the murder is, any less a part of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, how they perceive themselves in what they have to do to survive is like a huge part of this. I mean, and it's part of us for humans as well. We don't necessarily murder people. Well, I mean, I hope most of us aren't doing that, but we do need to consume in order to live. That is a practical reality for every living being on this earth. With them, it's just more pronounced because of what they need to consume in order to live.
Yeah, we have someone on the chat asking if you read the Dresden Files, because your vampires are giving me the same deep lore that Jim Butcher gives to vampires in his series, connecting them all the way to the birth of Christ and filling them with politics, trauma, and historical relevance.
I read the first book, and it was 9 years ago, so I actually don't remember it, if I'm honest. But yeah, I this is key to the vampire therapist world is that all of the history is relevant to them still. They don't exist outside of history, for
Yeah.
sure. They do exist outside of like class in a way, just because they, a vampire can put a little money in the bank and they will be millionaires
Yeah, just
before they
wait.
know it.
Just wait.
Exactly.
Yeah. This idea also gave me this feeling. I also got another feeling. Did you read the early 90s American book series called Blood Ties by Tanya Huff?
No, no, I haven't read it.
You have a human detective with macular ocular degeneration. So
Interesting.
she's getting blind and she has to
Yeah.
quit the force. And she partners. It's like a buddy cop, uh,
Oh,
paranormal
cool.
thriller or police books, where her partner is actually a 300 years vampire writer, vampire police book writer. So they both are solving murders. It's
Yeah.
pre X Files kind of X Files approach.
Yeah.
And it's so good that you pick up vampires as this archetype that you can also fit any profession on that. And you're just showing this
Yeah.
a cowboy, American cowboy that is also a therapist. Why not?
Yeah, I have a lot of people that come to me and say, "Oh, what about the werewolves? We would really like a werewolf in the game." And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I get it, but the difference between werewolves and vampires is that the vampire is immortal, so that's something that gives them a very different perspective than a werewolf.
Yeah.
Also, like a vampire, like the thing about werewolves is that by default, their appeal is that they lose control, but the vampire has to maintain control
Hmm.
in order to be what they are. So yeah, like dealing with these sorts of dynamics is I don't know. This is certainly the appeal of vampires. Why they've stuck around for such a long time. But yeah, you'd be surprised. I actually don't get into a ton of vampire media myself. It's the immortality that was attractive to me more than anything.
And saying this, we have Zeta Flash in our chat saying being immortal and not having an end cycle is also something that bends your thinking and brings some psychological problems. Yes, immortality.
Yeah,
It-
yeah, that was actually the start of it. There is a cognitive distortion that we haven't learned yet called should statements. This is a big one for me. It's that part of our brain that tells us I should be making more money. I should, have this kind of degree. I should be this kind of partner. But what these shoulds are is pressure that we are turning inward. Um, and if you were a vampire, if you live forever, all the things that we say, oh, if I had more time, I would do this, or if I had more time, I would do Y. That excuse goes away if you live forever. My first thought was, why are our vampires like in Twilight so useless? They go to high school, they kill people, they have their rivalries, but what do?
yeah.
Why isn't a vampire curing cancer? Why isn't a vampire going to Mars? Why isn't a vampire going to the bottom of the ocean? We don't really explore this, but then I thought that's actually a lot of pressure for a vampire. Like if a vampire is thinking like, "Oh, I'm such a loser. Like I haven't done great things and I'm just sitting here for 200 years." That actually would suck for lack of a better term a lot. And I'm certain that they would all have to deal with it.
Okay, let's debate this. Isn't one of our at least I recognize this in myself. Doesn't the idea? I'm an atheist, by the way. I think
Uh-huh.
this is pretty public knowledge, but I'm an atheist. So
Okay.
yes, I believe that when my biological body will cease to function, all the
Yeah.
systems, that's it. That you can tell that can entice some kind of loss of hope because
Yeah.
you know
This
inherently
is your
that
one
life
chance.
is hopeless. Yes,
Hmm.
but isn't that also? And I have to tell you, my driving force to actually try to go as further as possible. And when I say me, I say possibly the majority of people try to leave some legacy or reach
Hmm.
some place because we have the notion that our life will eventually end.
Yep.
What happens when you remove that?
Exactly. I mean, I think we're dealing with it a lot already. Like, after there is certainly a general loss of spiritualism in society, and what has it been replaced with? This is something I go into a lot in the game as well. Like, we become a very consumption oriented society, and that creates some difficulty in finding purpose. So, yeah, I think this is something that I struggle with as well. What is my purpose? What am I here to do? Like, if this is my one chance at having some kind of impact in the world, to say that I mattered, right? How does one do that? I mean, for me, it was this game, for better or for worse.
'Cause- and I'm sorry for bringing Vampire the Masquerade so much, but I think conceptually it's a good universe, and a good
Totally.
comparison point, because I think even narratively, the authors of Vampire the Masquerade kind of hinted a good possibility for this, which is even a mechanical fact that vampires post death or post becoming a vampire, they noticed that the ability of creating was actually a human trait. So even the
Interesting.
artists are just repeating. They are not a vampire that was a human artist.
Uh huh.
He or she will not go on to develop new aesthetics or new approaches. It will only be
Yeah,
on a
interesting.
cycle of repeating exactly the stage they were as a human. So correlating in a sense that your mortality or your human side is what gives you the ability to create and go forward. So, yeah, is this conversation turning too philosophical or?
No, no, no. I'm always game. I love this kind of thing. I wish I had. Yeah. Well, no, never mind. No, I love this kind of thing, and certainly like this was part of my exploration of vampires. Is like again, what happens when that when that drive of death is removed. And yeah, I think that because vampires are going to be stuck in their ways more than a mortal would over time, it means that you're completely right that they are not going to be able to do anything original because they are so set in their thinking. This is where the therapy helps, is that the idea that they still can do something. I get into it even more in the game. There's even like, discussions about AI and algorithms and how they do exactly the same thing, how they can only recycle but can never create anything new because only humanity can do that. That's
Yeah.
why humanity is
Mm.
such an essential aspect of my vampires.
And it's a good challenge for you to write characters that went through so many stages of
Yes.
humanity's development and now
Yeah.
finding our current days. Yeah, that has been a good reflection, isn't it, in terms of script writing?
Totally. That
Yeah.
was the start of it, is I wanted to show that, things have not changed. We are like, since 14,000 years ago, when the first civilizations started to pop up, we are no different from those humans then. We have the same insecurities that cycle over and over again throughout history. And this is a way of saying, like, okay, well, maybe let's not forget history
Yeah.
and not forget where we came from, so that we can actually reconcile with the fact that a lot of these fears and concerns that we have are purely biological.
We have a suggestion, and I will tell you, João, that I will go forward with your suggestion. João is saying, do a podcast. I could hear you to talk about this stuff for a while longer. So, and I will leave here publicly that post this streaming session, I will invite Cyrus if he's available and if he wants to spend more hours talking with me to do
Yeah,
some special episodes from Split Chicken talking about, well, what we've been talking. Cyrus, are you game?
let's do it. Let's do it. I'm always game.
And in a sense, this kind of I think this also happens with physical events with games with the approach a vampire therapist has, because I think there are games that you need your space and your time to enjoy.
Yeah.
Physical events are not the perfect way to convey how good a game like Vampire Therapist is. And at the same time, I hope we didn't do a disservice, because obviously we were so passionate talking about the script and the philosophical ideas behind Vampire Therapist that a streaming session is not the perfect place to do this. But at least I hope that everyone that was following our conversation noticed, one, the game just on a superficial level. or on the first contact level, the game is gorgeous. The backgrounds are amazing. The characters have so much personality and identity. Um, the script writing, I've played way forward in the game, and the script is amazing. I have to congratulate you, Cyrus.
Thank you.
It's really
Thank you.
completely my cup of tea, and I think players that enjoy this kind of narrative experiences, and getting lost in a good literary experience, Vampire Therapist is mandatory. Okay, it's obviously one of the best narrative games I've played this year. For João, it's his GOTY, is game of the year. Let's see in December if I will agree. So it ain't over till it's over. But
Yeah.
it's obviously one of the great games I've played this year. Cyrus, your congratulations and
Thank you so
thank you for
much.
bringing Vampire Therapist to IndieX. Honestly.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I have a tiny announcement for anybody watching that the game will be on its first discount in 2 hours. So
Oh,
be on the lookout for that.
oh, and you're gonna be
And
also be
more
part of
announcements.
the Steam sale
That's
in
right.
yeah,
The
yeah.
Indie X Steam sale. So yeah, now is a great time to get into Vampire Therapist.
Yeah, go play it because the game is so good, really. If you like visual novels, if you like narrative, complex, obviously there are more serious themes, but also with the light approach, please go buy Vampire Therapist. It's really an amazing game. Cyrus,
Thank
thank
you.
you for spending this hour talking about philosophy and psychology and vampires with me. I hope everyone enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed this conversation.
It's been a delight. This is great. I'm always down for this. I annoy my wife with this kind of talk all the time, so I'm glad we can rap like this.
So, and we're gonna have a sequel. I don't know if a Vampire Therapist we're gonna have a sequel, but at least for this conversation, we're gonna have. Let's try until December to have a special episode, just following up on this amazing conversation we had. Okay,
Fantastic. Sounds great to me.
Cyrus, thanks a lot for this session, and IndieX is still happening. It's the first day. We're now going to follow with Kingdom to Crown's Call of Olympus in 10 minutes. Thank you all for being there. And thanks again, Cyrus, for being with us in this hour. And we'll see you in 10 minutes. Thank you all.